Stay frosty and head over to ezmutt.com for the cheapest mutt coins on the market. When I say cheapest, I mean it. We're talking 1 million coins for around 40 bucks. Use code DIRECTOR for 5% off. Yo, what up, brothers? It's the Director. Chargers fans, how are you all doing, dudes? I know a tough loss on Sunday, but we are officially going into week 3 of the NFL season. Guys, there is so much more football left to be played, right? Especially in an 18-week season, the first time ever. The Chargers have a lot of time to figure some stuff out. And not to say that everything we've seen has been super concerning, or this team is on a downwards, but no, not at all. The Chargers actually in a pretty good spot right now at 1-1 after their loss to the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday. You guys got to remember, the first slate of games for the Chargers, I would say through the first 6 games or so, very, very tough opponents. This is really going to test the mettle of this team. And if they can make it out with 3 or 4 wins, I legitimately think the Chargers could go through the season with 11 or 12 wins to end the year. And that would spell really good news for the Chargers maybe making it into the playoffs. Now, in today's video, we've noticed a lot of things through the course of the first 2 weeks. They're both good and bad. Lots of good. We can't forget the good just because the Chargers had a bad game on Sunday. There's a lot of stuff that the Chargers are doing great, that this new coaching staff is doing great. But there's also some stuff that I feel like that may have been costing the Chargers, especially in this last week, that we can improve on, that we can try and fix and address through the course of the next couple of weeks. If we can figure this out early, guys, the Chargers may go on a run after week 6, after their bye week, I should say. So a lot of fun stuff to go over in this video. Before we do get started, guys, we're getting close to the end of this giveaway. As one of your final reminders, we're giving away a couple of jerseys here on the channel, guys, to one of my lucky subscribers. The first one being a signed Antonio Gates jersey. Again, these are like thank yous to you guys for being so awesome and supporting the channel, and it's a small token for me to you guys in appreciation of that. All you guys got to do to enter for this jersey is hit up the link in the description, follow the instructions there. Very, very easy, and make sure you are subscribed. Remember, only subs can win. But like we say all the time, we like to do giveaways in 2s on this channel. We're also giving away this signed LaDainian Tomlinson jersey to one of my lucky crew members. All you got to do to be entered for this is be a member of my crew. That's it. And good luck to everybody, man. Hopefully these go to a good home. And with that, let's get into this one. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this one. Lights, camera, action. 10 things that the Chargers must improve on after week 2. Must sounds so harsh, right? Like, oh my God, what's going to happen in the season if we don't sort this out? Well, honestly, guys, the Chargers, again, they're on a pretty good trajectory right now. I feel like they're moving in the right direction as a team, but there are certainly some things that they do need to clean up, especially after last week's performance. Starting with this image right here. You guys know exactly what I was going to say before I said it, right? The penalties. Discipline. The Chargers have got to sort this thing out, man. It's been really, really bad out there. The Chargers have accumulated almost 20 penalties over the last 2 games for almost 200 yards. And it gets even worse. I had to pause for a second there, man, because it just like saying those numbers out loud as a Chargers fan, as someone that runs the channel and stuff, seems already pretty catastrophic, right? But on top of that, we also have to look at the situations the Chargers were put in because of these penalties. You know, a few called back touchdowns, first downs, in situations where we're just leaving points, on the board. And it really, really does suck. It really does suck. And honestly, I would say if the Chargers were able to clean up even half these penalties throughout the last couple of games, we probably would have won, I would say, versus Washington by a lot more, and then definitely grabbed the win at the end there versus the Dallas Cowboys. So this is pretty bad, man. I think the first thing we got to clean up, as a fan of the game, a fan of the team, we got to stop it with these taunting penalties. I get it, Chargers and NFL fans in general. I don't like what the NFL is doing with this. It just feels like you're taking the fun out of it a little bit when players can't celebrate, a massive achievement on the field. But then on top of that, It's just how it is nowadays, isn't it? It's just the way the NFL is right now, and in order to do their jobs to the best of their abilities, they're gonna have to sort this out. And the team as a whole is gonna have to sort out this penalty conundrum right now. Otherwise, it could end up being the downfall of this team in the season. Wow, so dramatic, director. The downfall of the Chargers. But honestly, truthfully, it is something the Chargers need to work out, and work out very quickly. I'm sure the players and everybody got an earful during practice after the loss to Dallas, okay? Number 2 on the itinerary here, the run game. Austin Eckler. You know, honestly, when he's gotten the ball, he's looked fantastic. We were worried after week 1 that they have completely abandoned passing to Austin Eckler, again, being one of his strengths as a receiving back in the league, one of the best receiving backs in the league. We were worried that they were not going to use him to his full potential. However, those can be put to rest. In week 2 versus the Cowboys, Austin Eckler did get 9 receptions, which looked pretty nice, man. That's exactly the way you want to see Austin Eckler utilized. However, I think the Chargers could do a little bit better on the ground, too. It's not as bad as we think. I do have to add that, okay? I think Chargers fans in general maybe have been a little panicked when it comes to the Chargers' efficiency on the ground. But to paint a picture, 185 yards and a touchdown through 2 games, that's not necessarily horrible, but it could be a lot better. And I would say it could be a lot better in terms that the Chargers should be utilizing their brand new revamped offensive line, specifically behind Lindsley and Slater. I feel like the success of these running backs behind those 2 specific linemen have been pretty high, right? And I feel like if the Chargers can fully utilize that, the Chargers can start becoming more efficient on the ground. That opens up more opportunities for things like play action and maybe getting, you know, guys open through the air. So I don't know, man. I feel like the run game has some, you know, area to grow a little bit this season. But again, we're only 2 weeks in, and it could be a lot worse. It honestly could be a lot worse. Next up, let's talk a little bit about the play calling. Okay, so this one's definitely a little bit interesting, right? Joe Lombardi, brand new offensive coordinator for the Chargers. I feel like some fans have been a little critical of him in the last couple of weeks, just because, again, we've really struggled in the red zone. I'm going to kind of mesh these two together, the red zone efficiency and the play calling. Now, on one side, you could definitely argue that we got to drop maybe something a little bit different when we do get closer into the red zone in order to score. We have not been capitalizing on, honestly, these pretty long drives for the Chargers. They've been resulting in 3 or maybe nothing in some cases. And I feel like Joe Lombardi, he's got some good weapons out there. Jared Cook, who he's familiar with from New Orleans. We got Mike Williams. We got Donald Parham, honestly, who did get away for 1 touchdown last week. Of course, it was called back, but my goodness, he was out there completely alone and was able to make a couple moves and get into the end zone. I would say let's start utilizing these players a little bit more specifically in that area of the field. Try and drop some stuff to really pull from their strengths and capitalize on these long drives, because the Chargers have been putting up a lot of yards and the Chargers have been moving the ball. We just got to, you know, execute where it counts and put up some points, right? And on that same note, some people may be a little bit worried about Justin Herbert and his play action game, which honestly, yeah, I can see it maybe does have some room to grow, some room for improvement. But again, with penalties and a slew of bad luck, we haven't really seen our long drive, or we haven't really seen an opportunity for this play action to really develop. And I do think it's something that if the run game can improve, again, it will help the area of play action for him. But again, this is something that I think the Chargers as a whole need to kind of take a look at. The play calling, Justin Herbert and the play action, just kind of mixing things in to keep your opponent guessing, I feel like is definitely something that they should look at. Now, we saw a flash of this guy just a moment ago, Jalen Guyton. You guys remember last season? This will be topic number 4, by the way. The deep ball, okay? I think it's easy to look back on the 2020 season and feel like the Chargers were one of the best teams in the league when it came to taking deep shots, right? At one point, it got so awesome that us in the fandom and here on the channel decided to create the H-bomb emoji, which is because, like, just Justin Herbert was tossing it for, 40, 50 yards so consistently. We had guys down there like Jalen Guyton and Tyron Johnson to haul them in for big plays. And I think the result of that did come, I think the biggest result of that actually came through what the defense had to do to adjust for that, right? It causes them to play back just a little bit more, play a little bit more cautiously when it comes to those big, chunk gain plays and those big, streak and go route kind of situations for these speedy wide receivers. It caused them to back off a little bit. And that really did help Justin Herbert in this offense operate with a little bit more space and time. I think the deep ball certainly could make a return for this season, right? I feel like based on what we saw in 2020 and the success we saw in that season, the Chargers should probably look to take more deep shots this year too. For the most part, I don't disagree with the sentiment that the Chargers aren't taking enough big play opportunities or big play, risks. But at the same time, we have to remember we don't have Tyron Johnson anymore, and we're going to have to get creative in the way that we make those plays happen. We have seen plays like that happen with, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, both these guys of which aren't really burners by any means. There's got to be a way to get guys like Jalen Guyton and Donald Parham more involved that do have some speed behind them. So I would say either get them more involved or maybe look at signing another burner to the team, even if their only opportunity or their only job on this team is to try and get open deep and force this defense to back off just a little bit. Okay. Next up, this next one's pretty big. I know it's one that the Chargers suffered heavily from last week, and it's something that the Chargers have been honestly worried about since last season. We'll talk about the run defense a little bit, okay? Now, Linval Joseph, Justin Jones, Joey Bosa, all these guys really, really good against the run. I would say highly underrated, as a matter of fact. But there has been a weakness, an Achilles heel sort of exposed for the Chargers over the last 2 weeks when it comes to how do we, put up points against them. And lately it's definitely been with the run game. Antonio Gibson was getting a lot of yards per carry. Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard, or however you say it, were absolutely gashing the Chargers defense last week. And this is definitely an area of weakness for the Chargers right now. Now, what's funny is that I saw an interview with Brandon Staley. He stated something to the fact that it's better to give up a bunch of smaller 4+ yard runs than a big play. So he's saying it's better for us to focus on stopping those big plays from developing than giving up 4 or 5 yards per carry, which again, in some cases, I do agree. I would specifically say in our division versus the Kansas City Chiefs, that ideology does kind of make a little bit of sense, does it not? We did limit last week. Like, we can actually put that to the test just last week versus Dallas. We limited them to 230 yards through the air and no touchdown. And versus a Dak Prescott that absolutely went ham versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a pretty big thing. That's a pretty big thing that we pulled off with that secondary. But this also opened the door for guys like Pollard and Zeke to go for almost 200 yards on us on the ground, as well as 2 touchdowns. So either way, it felt like Dallas was going to score. They just had to focus their efforts or their attention and energy in one side or the other versus passing or running, and they definitely found success in the run game. So I feel like if the Chargers can maybe find a better balance in their defense, maybe the way they utilize their linebackers. I know that guys like Kenneth Murray have been struggling a little bit, but we've got guys stepping up like Drew Tranquil and Kaiser White. There's got to be a way to find a better balance to just, honestly limit those opportunities for the runner to get those huge chunk yards, because that's all we saw on Sunday. And honestly, it's all we saw in week 1 as well versus Antonio Gibson and the Washington football team. So we got to figure out the run defense. I'm not 100% certain on how they would do this, but I do think it does come down to play calling a little bit and trying to balance out, the risk of big plays versus the efficiency of the opponent on the ground. Okay? Next up, we're going to talk a little bit about the pass rush. Let's show Joey Bosa here for just a second. Now, when Brandon Staley signed on with the Chargers, we knew a couple of things about him, and I would say more specifically at the top of his resume was the efficiency that he created for the Los Angeles Rams defense. Holy cow. They had some big players on their team, but also these guys that were unknowns, Floyd and Brocker and these other guys really came to flourish in his defense. And that's something that the Chargers and its fans definitely were excited about when it came to the potential of a Brandon Staley defense. And a big part of this, for me at least, I expected a boost or an improvement to our pass rush quite a bit, right? And I'll say our secondary, as far as defense as a whole, our secondary has definitely benefited the most from this scheme so far. They've been playing lights out, but we are lacking some playmaking up front, and we've got the guys to make that happen. Joey Bosa, Fackrell, there's guys up there that can make some big plays. So how do we free up Bosa? How do we punish offenses who are double teaming Bosa with an attack from the opposite side from guys like Tillery, Fackrell, and Nwosu? How do we penetrate that line and get to the cornerback or to the quarterback? I feel like the Chargers have shown signs and flashes of that happening. I felt like we've had some pretty consistent pressure, but we really just haven't been getting home. And it kind of spells out to, I guess, the entire situation of the Chargers in 2021 so far. We're kind of getting there, and we're making headway, but we're not quite getting into the end zone. We're not quite getting to the quarterback or making the tackle at an appropriate depth of field. And there's a lot of things that I feel like the Chargers can improve on defense in order to help Joey Bosa and these really big playmakers on defense to honestly tilt the game in our favor. So the pass rush, There's some things that we have to work on there. I feel like, again, Joey Bosa and the rest of the defense, it's going to take some time to acclimate to this new system and to this new scheme, and I think they will improve over time. I truly do believe that, but it may take some time to get there. So we got to utilize Joey Bosa in the pass rush a little bit more. Which one are we on now? 7. Point number 7, the special teams. We're taking a look at KJ Hill here. Now, first off, I will point out that Tristan Vizcaino, kicker, he missed his first field goal last week, okay? But after a closer look, it looks like it was due to bad blocking. He had to kind of shift his kick to another direction and try and get that in. And it wouldn't have counted anyway because of the face mask penalty on Trey Pipkins. Now, I feel like Vizcaino, the jury's still out. He's doing better than we thought he would, and he's honestly someone that I could be patient with. On the other side, however, there are better decisions we need to be making in the return game in general. Hill's decision last week to field a punt inside the 10 was bad. The blocking and tackling angles have been bad. We've been giving up a lot of yards to our opponent, not generating a lot of yards in our own returns. There's things that need to be improved. So the special teams, one of the biggest highlights of things the Chargers need to work on in the preseason. I feel like that's maintained in the first 2 weeks of the regular season as well. So still something the Chargers need to focus on. I'm sure Swinton and the rest of the coaches are hard at work in trying to improve that. All right, topic number 8 here. I listed it as try something new at offensive line. Now, it's no secret that Storm Norton is the weakest link on this offensive line right now. He's been holding up admirably in a couple of weeks so far. Not great last week versus Dallas, but pretty dang good versus the Washington football team. But still, the Chargers, their line is still, even with Storm Norton in the line right now, much better than last season. Much better than last season. We can't forget the improvements the rest of the line has made, right? But I feel like it could still maintain the same integrity when it's as a whole and Brian Bulaga is playing. It can still maintain that same integrity by shifting some players around. And I know you guys have heard me say this before, but I'm going to say it again because why not just try it, right? Why not just try it and see what you've got there? I know they didn't want to mess with it too much, in short notice before week 2, but they've got some time now until week 3 to get something going as far as the offensive line. Again, my proposal and something that I felt that they had in their back pocket by signing these, I would say, versatile offensive linemen. You can move a guy like Matt Filer, who's listed on the screen right now, to right tackle. Again, he's got experience with Pittsburgh. And honestly, he was pretty good for Pittsburgh at right tackle. Then you can go ahead and promote Brendan Hymus to the starting left guard position. Again, someone who has a lot of potential, showed a lot of flashes in camp, honestly looked like one of the better rookie picks this season, and that's saying something because this rookie class for the Chargers has been really, really good. And by doing so, I feel like this line all of a sudden tightens up again. It becomes one of the better lines in the league again, even with the absence of Brian Bulaga hovering over us. Now, I know it's risky putting 2 rookies on the left side of the line with Hymus and Slater, but I think after his first 2 performances, we need to start respecting Slater the way we would a veteran. He's been playing so well, and I think he's got very many Pro Bowls in his future, and he's going to be a guy that we can depend on in that way. So that's honestly what I would try. Again, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I think it's worth looking into just to see if we have something there. The history of both these players in Hymus and Filer suggest that it would be the best move for the offensive line right now. For whatever reason, the coaching staff is having reservations about that, but that's something I would personally try out. Whether it gets past practice, who knows? Whether it gets past a few drives, in real time on Sunday, who knows? But it's something I think is worth a shot. Okay? Almost out of here, guys. Number 9. The receivers. Now, this one I'm not going to take too much time on because I think it's pretty plain and simple. The receivers need to clean up their game just a little bit. Now, there's no denying the talent of Keenan Allen and Mike Williams and Josh Palmer and all these guys are fantastic, but there's been a lot of tripping, a lot of, turf monster tackles, a lot of penalties, a lot of drop passes. All these things are starting to add up a little bit. Now, we can't let it take away from the big plays they have been making. Mike Williams is on pace for a monster season. Keenan Allen has been nothing but dependable on third down. Josh Palmer slowly coming into his own. Jared Cook is looking to be that safety blanket we needed over the middle. But still, these little mistakes like Keenan Allen tripping in the end zone, forcing an interception, that's pretty big. Mike Williams dropping a couple of passes, that's pretty big. Jared Cook, penalty, illegal shift or whatever the crap it was, calling a touchdown back. That's going to cost. All of it's adding up, and honestly, the Chargers, I feel like, again, they didn't play in the preseason. They'll find a way to shake off this rust and get back to, honestly, the Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and this entire receiving core that we know. They're very, very good, okay? So I won't spend too much time on that. The last point I want to make, and this is honestly a pretty huge one, a big one that I actually don't see a lot of people talking about right now. Capitalize on turnover opportunities. Now, Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James have looked fantastic in the first 2 weeks. They've looked great. Honestly, one of the best decisions we made this offseason was grabbing Asante Samuel Jr. One of the luckiest things that happened to us this offseason, Derwin James comes back healthy. They look fantastic. But on the other side, we've seen a number of dropped picks and missed fumble recovery opportunities over the course of the last few weeks. Actually, quite a few of them. 2 of them on Nasir Adderley alone. We saw that interception fall through his hands in week 1. It's a big pickup for Terry McLaurin and the Washington football team in that play. We saw him drop one here in the end zone. We've seen a lot of opportunities where it just comes out of the hands of Nasir Adderley. And the same can be said in fumble recoveries and other players in the secondary. There's been a lot of opportunities missed for the Chargers to get a turnover. And this is a big thing that I was emphasizing over the offseason. The Chargers need to fix this turnover issue, because if we can start capitalizing, if we learn to capitalize on these opportunities, the Chargers could boast one of the most lethal defenses of the league. Honestly, reminiscent of the Miami Dolphins last year. I feel like the Chargers have the potential. If you take all the opportunities they could have had to force a turnover in the last couple of weeks, I think the Chargers would have won both games by multiple touchdowns. I honestly do. It's a lot of opportunity for the Chargers to shift and tilt the game in our favor. And we just have not been executing properly to that. Again, kind of the almost team right now, right? We almost scored the touchdown. We almost got to the quarterback. We almost got that interception in the end zone versus Dak Prescott. Almost. Of course, the Chargers have been doing a good job. Asante Samuel, I think a forced fumbled the week before as well. So there are things that we've been doing good. But if we can tighten up and capitalize on all these opportunities, if not most of them, I think the Chargers are in a really, really good place. So Chargers fans in the comment section below, let me know some of the things that you're concerned about after week 2 of this season, things that you think the Chargers can improve on. But let's try and keep it somewhat optimistic, if not just cordial, in the comment section, okay? I know myself included, and I apologize for this. I let my emotions get the better of me last week. I was mad. I was angry at the refs. But at the same time, it is what it is, and we still have a solid football team, okay? The point in this channel isn't to create chaos and argument among fans. It's to create a platform for you guys to speak, a platform for you guys to share your emotion and opinion on the team. And if we can do that in a way that's both educational and engaging, I think we've done our job here. So let me know what you guys think in the comment section below of these 10 topics that I brought up. And please also include anything else you think the Chargers should be focusing on before week 3. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. We'll see you next time. And as always, bolt up and stay frosty.